Good afternoon, champions. Welcome to the weekly Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms live stream. My name is Dylan. I am here to answer your questions, except today, not so much, because we have something a little bit more special planned. So first things first, thank you to Wizards of the Coast for allowing us the use of the official D&D Twitch. Joining me in a second here will be our lead game designer, co-founder, Justin, who is here to talk about the chest update, chest and potions. And then at around 2 o'clock p.m. in an hour, we will also have Rudy Rutenberg from Maze Arcana joining us to chat. So, without further ado, let's get right to it.
There I am. Hey, oh, my mic's not on.
You're good. You're good now.
Now am I on? Okay.
Yeah,
hey, everyone. I'm here. Let's talk about the chest update.
Yeah. I guess just to get things started off, since questions haven't been pouring in yet, when can players expect to have this update come?
Start out with like the one. When is it coming? It's coming very, very soon. We're actually we've been working on it for a little while, and it's feeling really, really good. I know when we switched over from when we turned on the sort of guarantee upgrades in the game, it just suddenly started feeling much, much better, which really reinforced the fact this is definitely the right way to go. So very, very soon. I can't give a specific date yet because there's still some stuff up in the air, but pretty much as soon as we can.
And so I guess on the note of it, can you give our players a bit of an insight into what it takes to do an update like this?
Sure. So this one was actually relatively easy. There's sort of a bit of front-end stuff that we want to do to make the systems a little bit more clear, but the majority of it was actually in the back end of the game, where we actually just pick what you get in a chest. And so there was a bunch of rewriting of that. But that was after we sort of figured out what we wanted to do. And I guess I can just quickly go over sort of what we are doing, just so everyone's sort of on the same page.
Just a good idea to get everybody on it.
Yeah, so the things we're doing is, number one, we are making it so, as much as possible, we always give you an upgrade in a chest. So if we're going to drop for you like an uncommon and a rare item, we're going to make sure that if you don't have all of your uncommons or all of your rares, that one of those is going to be an upgrade for you. Which is really, really good because it means every chest has something that'll increase your power. Now, obviously, once you have all of the rare items in a gold chest, we don't drop epics in every single chest, so you might have to wait, the normal number of times until you get an epic in a gold chest. But once you get that epic, it will be an upgrade for you if you don't have all the epics. If you got all the epics, well, I mean, there's not much we can do for you in that regard. So we're doing that. We're making it so there's an upgrade in every chest. We're also making it so if you purchase chest packages, that we'll be guaranteeing a certain number of shiny items in each pack that you purchase. What else are we doing? We're making a bunch of changes to potions. There's a lot of changes to potions. Probably some of the biggest ones is we're rejiggering fire breath potions. Don't panic, we're not getting rid of the old ones. You get to keep your old ones. We're just going to put new ones in the drop table instead. So they're going to function a little bit differently. We're also going to change the duration of potions. So right now they last from like 1 to 8 minutes or something like that. We're going to make them last from 5, 15, an hour, or if you use an epic potion, that'll last until you reset. In actuality, it'll only last 10 years, so don't hold me to that. But if you manage to stay on the same run for 10 years and it runs out, just send in a ticket and we'll boost that duration for you again. What else are we doing in there? I wish I had my list in front of me.
I'll pull it up.
What are we doing? There's so much stuff. There are like 6 things. Guaranteeing. Oh, right, increasing the power of loot levels. So right now, loot levels are kind of not all that great. It takes 1,000 loot levels to double the power of your items. So what we're going to do is just boost up the power of each loot level. So instead of taking 1,000, maybe it'll just take a couple hundred. We don't have the exact number quite yet, but we're going to get that nailed down pretty quick, and that should go out with the update. We're adding a new type of drop from chests. We're getting rid of Potions of Heroism and adding a new type of drop to replace them that are Blacksmithing Contracts. And Blacksmithing Contracts essentially act like, well, you can use them. You pick a champion to use them on, and then it'll boost the power, the item level of one of your items. So they essentially act like a duplicate item, a random duplicate item for a specific champion. And so you can use those to increase the power of your event champions outside of the events, since normally you can't get event gear outside the events. So this time you'll be able to continue to upgrade their loot levels and hopefully keep them competitive with non-event champions.
Okay.
And then the last thing we're doing, and we're hoping to get this into this particular update, but if not, it'll come very quickly after, is an optimization of offline gold, silver chest gold, and bounty contract gold. All three of those things are sort of tied together, and the numbers right now just don't take a lot of effects into consideration when calculating those amounts. So that's one thing we're going to try and do another pass on and really nail down, because it's gotten more and more out of skew as we've been adding more and more types of effects that just don't get counted.
Okay. I suspect this question is going to be asked a lot, but people are going to want to know what happens to the items they have now when this change goes live.
So in terms of like loot items, equipment?
Yeah, they're the potions they have, the fire breath potions, the heroism potions.
Right. So everything you have right now will stay there. The duration increases will take effect on everything except for your old fire breath potions. We're actually going to change the name of them. They're going to be expired fire breath potions for the ones you currently have. They'll still act the same way they do now with the percentage click, but then any new fire breath potions you get in the future from chests after the update will be the new type, which will function a little bit differently.
Okay. And I guess the on the topic of item levels, are you expecting to see a spike in players' power just from increasing the amount of levels they have?
Yeah. So we're not actually going to change the number of levels that they have. We're just going to make each level a little bit more powerful. Okay. So if you've got like a level 100 item right now, it'll still be a level 100 item, but the power level, the increase from those 100 levels will just be changed. Oh, okay. So you'll maintain all the levels you have. You'll earn the same number of levels whenever you update, or whenever you open new chests and get an upgrade for it or a duplicate, but it'll just be more powerful with each one.
Okay. So one of the first questions we have is, like, does the always get an upgrade also apply to silver chests?
Yes, it does. But keeping in mind that silver chests don't guarantee a piece of rare loot in every chest. So silver chests just guarantee a piece of loot. That might be a common piece of loot. And if it's a common piece of loot that chest decides to drop, and you've got all the common pieces of loot, it's not going to automatically upgrade that to an uncommon drop.
Okay.
So yes, it will apply. So if you open a silver chest and you've got every loot slot filled except for one, it'll stick a common in there for sure, but it's not going to necessarily like give you a rare if you've got all uncommons or so forth.
Okay. And then how do these plans, like the blacksmithing plans, affect, like, how does it work with event champions? Is it just same as any other character? You just click on the plan, click on them, and randomly increases?
So you'll click on the blacksmithing contract in your inventory, and you'll be able to pick a champion to apply it to. One thing we haven't made a final decision on is which champions you can use the blacksmithing contract on. I think we'll probably, for the start, are going to restrict it so that you can only use it on champions that you have all 6 slots full. We just want to try to avoid any sort of funky exploits where you could like get a really good item as your first item and then not open any more chests, just use a whole bunch of blacksmithing contracts, and then it would randomly always pick that item. So we want to make sure that there's nothing sort of exploitable in there. We really force that.
And then let's talk about this potion of respecialization that has its own dedicated subreddit thread post right now.
Yeah. So the potion of respecialization, it's not going to be a super common potion. It's going to be rare. So you're not going to get it very often. So don't worry about replacing all of your potions of heroism with potions of respecialization that you don't want to use. So we're going to do that. The way it works, for anyone who doesn't know, is that you'll use that potion, you'll select a champion, and then any specializations you picked for that champion will get reset, and you can choose them again. So that means you could change your Ashara's Bond halfway through a run. You could change Minx's favorite enemy in the middle of a run. And what we want to do, since that sort of opens up specialization a little bit, so it's not just fixed to the end of the adventure, it does create new possibilities for us for when we're designing adventures. We could have an adventure that makes use of that, and you could get a bit of a boost by using that halfway through. So, I think there might not be as many uses for it right now, but it opens up sort of a new avenue for us to look at.
Versatile in one run, basically.
For sure.
Yeah. Okay. I know some players had mentioned that they weren't stoked on them because that means that, like the current potions of heroism, it means that there's a junk item slot coming their way. But I'd like to remind those players that we have been asked for a potion of specialization or some way to do this on every stream since we started. It's a pretty common bit of feedback.
It was a pretty common request, and so it might not be useful for everyone right off the bat, but I think we'll try and find uses for it for everyone down the road. It's something we can play with. And to be fair, we are removing potions of heroism from the drop table, but I still want to find use for potions of heroism, and that's another blog post down the line. We've got a lot of really cool plans for the next few months as we sort of push towards the end of early access kind of thing.
So on the note of fire breath potions, we have some, people asking, like, why are we even changing them? Like, what about them needed to be overhauled?
Yeah, so the issue with fire breath potions was that they were just really, really powerful. It didn't really depend, or it really didn't matter what your formation was like. It didn't really matter what your gear, your blessings, or anything like that was like. If you had a fire breath potion, or if you had enough fire breath potions, you could just push further and further and further. And what that meant was you could farm a lot more favor than we had sort of intended for you to farm. Like right now, everyone knows there's sort of, you get all your upgrades, you get to sort of a cap. We're cool if you push a few levels past that cap, but if you're pushing like 60 or 100 levels past that cap, it gives you more favor than we're sort of intending for you to have at that point. And it's just something we want to, it makes it easy, it makes the game easier to balance if we don't have that sort of wide range of power based on sort of how much people are willing to click.
Okay.
Yeah.
And to be clear for everybody, the potions of fire breath that they have right now in stock, or that they've probably been stocking up for some special occasion, they're not going anywhere.
No.
Yeah.
No, they'll kind of look a little bit sickly in your inventory. We're changing the icon, so they look a little bit more green than orange. There's a little bit of mold.
They look spoiled.
A little bit of mold growing on the top, but you can still drink them. I'm sure it's fine. Penicillin, whatever. You won't get sick. But so you'll still be able to use the old ones. The new ones will look like the old ones, but they'll have a different effect. And that effect is that they'll turn your clicks into mini ultimates, or potentially, depending on how we want to balance it, super ultimates, where they'll do a large percentage of your party DPS or party damage. And that'll let you, one of the sort of side effects of that is with the old fire breath potions, if you click trash mobs, it took a lot to kill them. It took 100 clicks with the common fire breath potion, or 10 clicks, 12 clicks with the epic one, and it just took a lot to get through trash mobs with that potion. We really want to make it so fire breath potions are for beating bosses that you can't beat. So we want to make them sort of just trash through trash mobs.
Okay.
Yeah. So these new potions will do that. They'll be a lot better at that. And we're going to try and balance them so you can still push like another 10 or 15 levels, maybe 20 levels past wherever you're capping at, potentially, but not further than that.
Okay. I guess, looks like we have somebody thanking us for fixing the bug with Area 45.
Yes,
this morning.
Our bad. I can explain why that happened if anyone's interested. Want the tech reason for why that happened? It's lots of fun.
Yeah, why not, actually? I just give people some insight into what it takes to keep something like this
So
running.
the Goblin battle stack is actually 3 separate monsters. It's a stack with 3, a stack with 2, and a stack with 1. And the 3 stack, when it's killed, spawns the 2 stack one, and the 2 stack one, when it's killed, spawns the 1 stack one. And we've got a bunch of optimizations in the game so that we don't send you too much data. We don't send you every single monster from every adventure when you load an adventure. So we only send you the monsters that are in that adventure. And unfortunately, our checks for which monsters were in that adventure didn't include monsters that spawn from other monsters. So you kill the 3-stack one, and it goes, okay, spawn this 2-stack one, and the game goes, I have no idea what that is. And then I guess was it crashing?
It just stopped for me.
Just stopped
when it got me.
So it doesn't so much work. So we fixed that.
So I guess, let's see, getting through this, we addressed that the potion of respecialization will be rare, as in a rare drop.
It'll be a rare. It'll both be blue, and it will be a sort of similar rarity to the rare drops. I actually made it half as common as rare drops, so you'll get the other rare potions more often than you get potion of respecialization.
Oh, excellent. Okay.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So I guess speaking of fire breath potions and ultimate damage, there are some players right now questioning ultimate damage because they're using Jamila Barrowan to push to wherever, at which point your ultimates just kind of glance off the enemies. And
we want to, this is sort of outside of the chest changes, but we definitely want to try to address that at some point. We want to do something with Barrowan so that her effect on your damage is counted without your damage sort of bouncing around so much. Like, the reason we didn't initially make it so her buffs affected your party DPS is because we didn't want it to be like you have to time your ultimate attacks for when your main DPS in your party is double buffed. And unfortunately, there was a bug that slipped through with where it still affected the ultimates of the individual champions. So you'd want to get them double buffed and then use their ultimates, and it wasn't intended. It was never intended to work that way. So we would like to find a way to integrate that buff into the ultimate damage without it sort of whiffling around.
Okay.
Bouncing around.
Yeah. Back to the chest. So potions of heroism, the health potions, are going to stick around.
They will stick around for now. We have plans for those that aren't related directly to the chest update. We're going to be doing a big update down the road around tanking and healing. So look forward to that. That's going to probably be a much bigger change to the meta than this one is, but hopefully it'll be super fun. Now we're going to spam a raffle so that I can't see what anyone's saying. This is fine.
No, it's good. It's good. We got a lot to go over. Let me just double check what it is we are giving away here.
Erica say it was a Tyrol.
Tyrol starter pack DLC. Tyrol Tall Guy, Firbolg Druid. For all those non-Barrowan users out there.
For anyone who doesn't use Barrowan. So.
Yeah. Okay. So if you use an epic blacksmithing contract on a champion without any epic gear, what does that do? Does it give them an epic's worth of extra levels or something?
So the blacksmithing contracts don't give you gear. They just increase the item level of your existing gear. So you could use an epic blacksmithing contract on a champion who's got all common gear, and it'll just give them 24 levels on one of those pieces of gear randomly.
Okay. All the blacksmithing contracts are set, or is it like their increments up?
They increment up, so they're just the same as if you got a duplicate. So the common's worth 1 level, the uncommon's worth 2 levels, the rare's worth 6 levels, and the epic's worth 24 levels.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So, epic potions lasting a whole reset. What does that mean for when you if you close the game and reload it, or anything along those lines?
Yeah, that's a-okay. You close the game, you reload, your potions will still be there and active.
Okay. And then I guess because it's related to some behavior around some of the potions currently in game. Sometimes they come and go.
Yeah, there's a little bit of funkiness. We'll have to actually look at that around them not applying while you're offline. And then sometimes we'll look into that before we push. We'll see if we can find anything weird.
Okay. Santanos is asking whether or not they read it correctly, that people who have already paid for chests will be getting shiny potions.
Yes. So that's one of the other things we're doing is as a thank you to our existing purchasers, people who have made purchases in the past, we're going to be giving out these special limited time potions of shininess. and you'll be able to use those from your inventory to basically make a random loot item that you own shiny.
Okay.
So yeah.
And then on the topic of shinies, which is a hot topic in the Discord and on Reddit, are we planning to address issues related to shinies having a sort of diminishing returns as you get more of them?
Yes, we are planning to address that in this update. We're going to pull the shiny check from after it's determined which item you're getting to before it determines what item you're getting. And then shinies will essentially, if a chest determines that it wants to drop a shiny, it'll function the same way as if it's dropping an upgrade. So it'll look at all your items, see which ones aren't shiny, and make sure that it gives you an item that you don't have as shiny.
Awesome.
So that should be better. Fixes that edge case.
Yeah. In terms of the shiny potions, people asking whether or not they're retroactive, but like how do they function? Like when you go to use one, how does it work?
You'll click the shiny potion in your inventory. It'll go away, and then a shiny card will pop up on the screen.
Okay. And sort of just like, this is what you got.
Boop, you got this.
Okay, cool. Sweet. And then I guess blacksmith contracts, these shifting, like are they going to be dropping in the silver chests as well, or like how?
Yes.
That's how the distribution is going to work out?
Yep. Yeah, basically anywhere a potion of heroism could have dropped before, it is now going to be a blacksmithing contract.
Okay. So is the loot table roughly the same for?
Yeah. The odds didn't really change. The only addition was that potion of respecialization, which just steals a very, very small portion of the sort of drop table.
Okay.
Yeah.
We had people asking about the details of the shiny rate, but that's going to change to what we just talked about. So it's one of the things, I think I mentioned it on Discord when somebody asked, that one of the reasons we hadn't been addressing that question as specifically as we could recently is because we are intending to make these changes. So
yeah. So the question, this guy's saying, can you provide more details on the shiny rate? Will it be something like 1 shiny per 10 chests, or more like a guaranteed number in each pack of chests? So they're asking about the purchased ones, I believe. And for purchase packs, it'll be a guaranteed number of shinies depending on which pack you buy. So I think we've got it right now in our testing for basically 1 shiny per sort of $10 spent on the pack. So like the $10 pack will have 1, the $20 pack will have 2, and the $50 pack will have 5. And then those are just distributed throughout the chests in that pack.
Okay, but what about when you're just regularly grinding away and opening gold chests? What's your shiny rate?
What's the shiny rate for those? Currently, in silver chests, I think it's around 1 in 1,000-ish. In gold chests, it's probably closer to 1 in 400-ish. We're probably not going to change those rates too much. We'll just try to make sure that you can't lose one of those drops.
Okay.
Yeah.
Onto the, looks like we're getting non-update related questions now. Santanos asking when we can expect to have somebody who buffs Regis.
Mm-hmm. Someone who buffs halflings. Probably the same time that we get someone who buffs some of the other races that aren't yet represented on Ashara's bonds.
We have somebody asking if we can explain the difference between golden and shiny cards.
Sure. So, yeah, the normal cards are just the normal ones that you win from chests. Shiny cards are 50% more powerful, and they can drop randomly from chests, from any chests, and then obviously now they'll be dropped if you buy packs. And then golden cards are twice as good as normal cards, and they generally only appear from special promotions that we do. So like right now, if you buy any chest pack, any normal chest pack, you can get a special golden epic for Brunor. And we do one of those, 1 golden epic for each event. And we also generally, if we do a weekend promotion or a weekend buff, we'll do a golden epic with that as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we have what was the word? Somebody asked me this the other day. They were wondering because Jamila has 2 golden shinies at this point, and then there's
golden epics.
Or golden epics at this point.
There's the confusing.
Yeah.
Yes. Golden and shiny are sort of 2 different. Think of them as 2 different sort of rarities. You can't get a golden shiny You can get a normal, you can get a shiny, or you can get a golden. There's no golden shiny. You can't get a rare epic. You can't get an uncommon common.
Okay.
Right. So they're different rarities.
Okay. So thanks for that. Actually, that's good. The so the golden epic, because like some characters have 2 so far, and other ones have 1. Like, is there an do we have a plan for how that's distributed going forward? Like,
yeah, we try not to do too many on one champion before others get a chance to have one. So Jamila's a bit of an edge case there because we had some
boots and a sword,
extra stuff we wanted to give out. And I wanted my Jamila to be really good. So unfortunately, if I want mine to be good, I have to buff all yours too. So no, so yeah, we will try to distribute them sort of evenly across the champions. Yeah, we're not going to like fill one up and have all 6 slots and then have another one with none. So.
Okay. Did we put that info in the game already?
It's there for data miners.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
So PV and Jot are asking who the next champion after Birdsong is.
After Birdsong? I don't even know. Is Birdsong going into the game? I don't know this.
Is Birdsong the next one? I think Birdsong's the next one. Well, is Birdsong the next one?
I don't know. Maybe. Is your phone ringing? Mute all phones.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is a next champion. And then there's a next champion after that. I don't really like to specifically talk about them before we go out. So,
okay.
Birdsong will be a cool champion to put in. That's it's a
which one's Birdsong?
Nice Tabaxi Bard, native to Chult.
Right. Tomb of Annihilation.
Not that I know
guide,
a lot about.
I think, right?
A lot about.
One of the guides. It's one of the guides in the book, isn't it? I think. Something like that.
I know she's in a BCOM game.
The Tales from Candlekeep has Birdsong in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I
think they're also releasing another champion in a second.
Let's see what the next answer to the question is.
Let's see. What happens with banked chests? People who have already been stockpiling.
So all the chests you have will automatically be the new types of chests when we roll out the update. So if you want to hold on to your chests, all the ones you have will have those guaranteed upgrades in them. Alternatively, if you want to get a lot of those the old style fire breath potions, you're going to have to open chests to get them. So it's kind of it's a choice right now whether you want to do that or not. I don't know. I think you get more bang for your buck probably hanging on to them, but it's really up to you.
Yeah, there's certainly some debate over whether or not it'd be worth it to hold on to them or to open as many as you can right now to get some of these old fire breath potions that are maybe a little overpowered to have a stockpile going into other things. Okay. Ray Cool, how many months until we can expect a new upgrade cap for levels?
Oh wow.
Easy question.
How many months? Do I have to say it in months?
You can say it in days. Hundreds of days.
No, he asked how many months. No, we're going to do an upgrade cap increase pretty soon. Possibly before the next event, but if not, definitely afterwards. It's really just a matter of, at this point, when I have some free cycles to go in there and do it. And then that, of course, will inform sort of the caps for upcoming events and the caps for new adventures and variants. So it's definitely something that's overdue at this point. So it's on my to-do list for sure.
Okay. And then let's see, what do we got here? Skywalker. Can we or will we get new formation save slots in the future?
We weren't planning to, unfortunately. No plans for that right now. It is something we could do in the future. If people like really start pushing for it, I could see it. It's just not a very high priority compared to some of the other stuff we really want to do, like these chest upgrades or some of the other fun stuff we have coming in the next few weeks.
Okay.
Months.
And then let's see. Dota 2 for the win 314. If potions of shininess are 1 for every $10 spent, does that mean if I've only ever purchased $5 chest packs, I won't get any?
So the way that the potions of shininess that we're going to be giving out, so the potions of shininess are going to be a one-time thing as a thank you for people who've made purchases. We're just going to sum up the total amount that you've spent in game, divide through, and then give you potions of shininess based on that. For future purchases, Yeah, the guaranteed shinies are only going to be in the $10 pack and higher. The $5 pack's still there if you want to pick up the golden epic for super cheap. If you want to get us some shinies from those purchases, then yeah, they are just in the $10 packs and above, because we don't want, if we put them in the $5 packs, then it's like, oh, just buying like 2 $5 packs is better than buying, and we get into either we have to give out a ton of shinies, or we have to just like get rid of the $5 pack. Or unfortunately, there's just no real other way to do it nicely.
Yeah, well, I mean, they get a golden epic with the $5 purchase if it's the first one they've done anyways, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Blubbertron, can you give a slightly more concrete description of the level scaling? Drastically is a strong word, but are we talking about doubling after 50 to 100 levels or 500 levels?
Right now we're looking at just in the hundreds, so 200 to 300, somewhere in there. It's not going to be 50 to 100. That's a little bit too much power, especially with some of those ones that buff already powerful upgrades. So, but we're not going to go as high as 500 levels for a doubling. So probably in the 200 to 300, but it's not nailed down quite yet.
Okay, I just need to respond to this, unfortunately.
Is anything on fire?
Not directly. Okay, let's see. Colette, are the new potions stackable like the old ones, combining the amount of time remaining?
Yep, so we're not going to change that. So if you use, right now, like in the new upgrade, the rare potions are going to last an hour. If you use 2 of those, you'll get the same effect, but just for 2 hours. Oh, reporting an error.
What's that?
You caused an error.
I don't know what happened here.
Oh, that's weird. Hopefully it'll finish reporting that error.
Retrying request. All right. Well, we'll give that a moment to get to the next question. Let's see. Garwar, will chest drop rates be adjusted down due to the guaranteed nature of the new chest items?
Hey, if anyone's out there, let's see if the servers are working, eh?
Oh no, everybody's crashed.
Oh,
that's
good.
what every single person in the chat's saying.
Awesome. Chest upgrades,
and you're here and not fixing it.
It's fine. There's people out there who can fix it.
Oh.
I think you just finished retrying the request. Anyway, let's keep going the questions.
Yeah. So will chest drop rates be adjusted down due to the guaranteed nature of new chests?
No, we have no plans to do that. We did a lot of sort of looking into this before we decided to do these changes, just based on sort of what people were getting based on what they were completing, and you know, how their champions were looking afterwards, and we really just felt like champions were kind of under geared after events, just for especially for free players, but also for people who put in money into the game. And we don't want people who put money into the game to feel bad, especially. But we want everyone to feel like they can do an event and get like some decent gear out of it, and have a powerful champion who can be, you know, useful in their normal adventures. And so we kind of figured, like, sometimes if you got really lucky, you came out and you just couldn't use a champion because they just didn't get enough gear. So we wanted to make sure that that didn't happen.
Okay. Badger Food wants to know whether or not shinies will also come from weekend event chest bundles or event bundles.
Yeah, they'll come in all chest bundles that you can purchase.
Okay.
Yep.
Archimedes 94, question for Justin. Are you aware of, and how are you planning to address the issue of diminishing returns of the... Oh, we already went over that one.
Yeah, we went over that question. Yeah. So we are going to do a pass on that and make sure that shininess is guaranteed before loot is chosen.
Okay. Keptiz, what about event champions that got the RNG shaft? Green trout after way too many chests.
Something definitely up with the servers. Yeah, so that's something that will be addressed by
give this a second, and if it's, I can switch it over to a news view.
Well, then I have to like squish in.
No, I can change the camera on the fly. Wow. We may have some
guys,
things
fix
going.
the servers, guys.
Here, I'm just gonna do this thing, and then I can do this thing.
Oh yeah.
Here.
Okay. Hopefully this works.
Yeah. It doesn't have your name on it, but it's the best I can do when I can't show the game.
My name is Weekly Stream Code.
since while the game is not. Oh no! It seems to be coming back.
Just hit G twice. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so let's see. So what happens? You covered the event champions.
Yeah. So hopefully the new stuff will. So basically we worked out the worst case you could possibly get for event champions. About 10 chests, you would have all the rares. 10 gold chests, that is. I guess technically you could maybe make it 11 if you got like an epic before you got one of the last rares, but it's going to be pretty hard to not get pretty decent loot on all of your event champions with these changes.
Excellent. Alrighty, so let's see. Looking for clarification on blacksmith contracts. It'll improve the level, but not the tier.
That's correct.
Meaning that you'll go from level 10 to level 11 instead of going from green to blue.
That's correct. Yeah, it won't grant you new gear or increase the rarity or anything like that. It will just increase it from level 10 to level 11. So with that combined with the changes to the power of loot levels, it'll basically just make it a percent or two stronger.
Okay.
Depending on which rarity of blacksmithing contract you use.
Okay. Random BG. If I understand it correctly, Mink's favored enemy affects the entire party. Any plans on showing an adjusted team DPS against the favored enemy type? A box on Mink's character page, perhaps.
Yeah, that's one of those challenges that we have for calculating offline gold as well, is just how we sort of show those things and take those things into consideration. Obviously, Regis has a similar issue with his making enemies take more damage from certain attack types. Minx has that issue. Obviously, the Barrowin buff has that issue. So it's a tough one for us, and anything we do is probably going to end up being an approximation. So we're going to try real hard to do a better job with that. It'll probably never be 100%, but we'll do our best.
Okay. Let's see. Somebody asking whether or not you could trade health potions for blacksmith ones, even if it's at a lower trade rate.
Yeah, we don't have any plans to do that yet. Once we've done our tanking and healing and health rebalance, maybe. But I wouldn't want to. I don't want to put the time into that now. If maybe down the road potions of heroism will become useful again, because maybe they will. Just maybe.
Just maybe. Okay. Moving into silver chests. Okay, so this is Silisa. Silver chests are already better for attaining gear levels. With the proposed changes, it makes it easier to gain all epics for all champions. Will the silver versus gold chest gear level disparity be addressed?
Not in this pass. Maybe in the future. Right now, I'm actually kind of okay with silver chests being better for gaining gear levels, because you can't get epic potions, you don't get as many rare potions from them, so there is a trade-off in getting those gear levels, and you still do need to open the gold chests at some point in order to get all your epics. Like there's 14 champions right now that get their gear from gold chests, and they've each got 6 item slots, and for a normal, like your average sort of free player, that's going to take a lot of gold chests and a lot of time to completely epic out all your guys. So I think there's still a large portion where you want to be opening gold chests, a large portion of sort of the metagame where you want to be opening gold chests. But it's actually kind of cool that it goes from like you start with silvers, open a bunch of silvers to sort of get that base gear, then switch into golds to get like the rare and the epic, and then go back to silvers to sort of level them up and sort of increase their level. So I'm okay with that right now, but still open to changing it in the future.
Okay. Alrighty. This is an interesting one from Colette. What happens when you level a piece of equipment that reduces the cooldown of ultimates so much that the cooldown would be 0? Is that possible?
Yeah. We're going to cap cooldown reduction from gear, so it's going to cap out at, I think we're looking at 75% reduction right now. So you won't be able to get it to 0. You can't spam your ultimates. You'll have to wait till we do an adventure where you can only spam ultimates, which will be really fun. But yeah, you won't be able to reduce the cooldown to 0.
Just the daddiest machine gun going off for the whole adventure.
Oh my god, that'd be insane, and immediately crash your game. So
maybe not yet. Daylight's Asunder. Could you let us know if the drop rate for gold chest in free plays during events, or if it is more or less than spending the 10,000 tokens on just buying the chest?
Sure. The drop rate for gold chests in events is 33%. So you should get one in about 7,500 tokens. So it should be better than just buying the chest. But with that said, it is completely random. We don't do any sort of weighting or bad luck saving or anything like that. So it is completely random. You could potentially go, I think I saw that last event, Cylia did like 8 golds and 4 silvers. The odds would say that should be the other way around on average, but it's possible to do that. So yeah, it's 33% for gold chests, 66 or 33.3.
I went pretty close to 50-50 on my runs through.
Yeah, and that's possible too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
There's no pity timer. That's a good name for it. No pity timer on those. Maybe we could put one on. I mean, it does suck to get like 5 silvers in a row, but
Yeah. Okay.
Huh?
Oh.
ding dong.
Yeah. I could see you, Rudy, but I can't switch over just yet. Our guest is on the line. Okay. So let's see. This is an interesting question, sort of. Blubbertron, you said that you don't want to allow suboptimal play. With the proposed chest changes, opening gold event chests prior to opening all the silvers you get from free play will be pretty suboptimal. Any thoughts?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, it's true, but it's also, I don't really have a good solution to it. I don't want to be forcing people to open their silver chests first, and I don't really want to play with the loot rarity drops in each of those things. So I think that's just going to be one where we're just going to have to suck it up and be like, yeah, if somebody opens golds before silvers, maybe they don't get an optimal amount of loot. They'll still get, good loot. So, yeah.
Okay. Thantnos. Is Krond in a good place, or could you ninja him some love? And is there a hobbit buffer coming?
Oh, they're not called hobbits, guys.
Yeah.
Shh,
There's halflings. Don't let the Tolkien estate hear you say
they
that.
haven't been hobbits since...
I shouldn't have even read it out. I don't know what I was thinking.
Since D&D version 1.0.1, right? They got rid of that before they even went... Anyway, what was the question again? I got caught up on the hobbits thing. Is Krond in a good place?
Krond buffs.
Right. Krond, yeah, I think Krond could use some love. And I think one of our updates down the road, so we've got this chest update that's one of sort of our milestone updates. We've got a couple of more milestone updates after this that are just adding sort of features and other stuff that we really want to be in the game. And then down the road at some point there will be a balance update, and we're going to try to get all the champions who are sort of frowned upon, Kron to Delina, Grama to a certain extent, some of her specs, try and get them into a better place.
Cool. Just saving it all up to do just a champion pass.
Yeah, do it all. I'll do a big pass. Make sure everything's sort of on the same page, instead of doing it sort of piecemeal.
Okay. Legitimate T. Why can't event heroes get equipment out of standard chests once they are unlocked? It's hard to keep event champions viable if you can't upgrade them.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's one of those things that we do purely to sort of drive play during events. Like, we really just want you to play during the event and get as many chests as you can, and play as much as you can during the event. So it's one of those sneaky business things we do to keep people around. But also, we don't want to diminish gold chests, like the amount of stuff that's in them. Like, for example, in Crusaders, there's over 100 Crusaders right now. And if you could only get the gear from that afterwards from gold chests, you'd be opening like 100 gold chests before you even saw a piece of loot for that guy. and it just really diminishes the usefulness of those chests. I don't think, I mean, it kind of sucks, but I don't think it would be better if you could get event gear in the standard chests. I think you'd still be opening so many chests before you even saw anything, and then we just get, you know, similar questions about that.
Okay. This is an interesting one from Smirkgrin. Do you ever plan to end any campaigns? Tomb of Annihilation obviously has an end in the handbook. Will there be a finale of sorts when you're done releasing adventures for it? Finale. Final.
Will there be a final E? Yeah, so for Tomb of Annihilation, we will... there will obviously be an end to the main storyline. But what we want to kind of do is sort of revisit those campaigns as we can to sort of add some of the side quests in. So we go pretty much from the start of the book to the end of the book in our campaign, or in our planned campaign at this point. But so there's a lot of stuff. Like if you guys have the Tomb of Annihilation book and you've read through it, there is so much content there. We're barely scratching the surface on the main campaign. So we will be sort of visiting some of those side areas afterwards. Maybe we'll run into a couple of dragon baity type champions during those adventures. Maybe. I know someone asked about dragon bait before. Maybe.
People love dragon bait.
I could definitely see him being in there. But yeah, so after the campaigns, and especially the D&D book ones, we'll still keep adding to them over time. But yeah, the main adventure will be done. They won't be getting as much love. We'll move on to, say, other campaigns in other places.
Okay.
Any word on what those are?
No, I'm kidding.
Sure,
all right.
I could tell you, but wizards would kill me.
Yeah, actually, I'm afraid of them. Yeah, as I should be. They are wizards, after all.
They are.
Temp ban. Does the offline gold fixing also prevent problems with the new kind of FB pot and Barrowin?
We're going to try to address that kind of stuff as much as we can, as much as possible. As I said before, like we can only really get an approximation. It's really, really hard to simulate like 8 or 24 hours worth of play to a very high degree of to perfectly accurate. So we have to just sort of approximate, and we're going to try and get that approximation better. Because right now, like as I said before, it's missing a lot of the sort of new effects. It doesn't really take into account some of the stuff, especially Barrowin. That's a really big one that it doesn't take into effect. So
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, this is an interesting one from Inner Voices. I have over 100 silver chests.
That's a lot.
Any plans to allow mass openings?
Probably down the road. Not quite yet, but probably down the road. Then we'll have to add a mass opening thing. We want to really think about it and do a better job of it than we did in Crusaders. The Crusaders one was kind of hacked together, and it really made it very, very hard to actually tell what good things you got out of those chests. And we want opening chests to be like, oh, I got these good things out of it, as opposed to it just being like, good, I've gotten 100 chests out of my inventory.
Okay.
So.
And then this looks like a follow-up to a previous question and response from Mendenbar. What happens to gear after you hit the cap for ultimate cooldowns? Yeah,
so there's a couple of things that we're going to try and do for that. One, if possible, we'll just try to not drop that piece of gear anymore. We'll basically have a maximum level for it, and once you reach the maximum level, that gear won't show up in chests anymore. And then also wouldn't be affected by Potion of Blacksmithing. Hopefully, we'll be able to get that in place for this push. But, whoa. Okay. Yeah, so we'll try and get there. No promises. We'll definitely get that into, like I said, the offline gold one might also be one that we aren't quite able to push into this update, but I put it in there because it's a very high priority for it and for us, and it relates to these things quite a bit. So we'll try and get that in. We'll try and get it in. We'll try.
Okay. Steely66. Should we avoid the Tomb of Annihilation campaign's later levels if we don't want spoilers?
That's a good question. If you're playing the campaign with friends and you don't want to know sort of where you're going to go or what bad guys are going to pop up, then maybe. It's up to you, really. I mean, we're gonna go through from the beginning of the campaign to the end of the campaign. We're gonna fight the final boss at the end of the final sort of adventure, the finale adventure.
Finale.
So if you don't want to know who that is or why they're there or that sort of thing, yeah, you might want to avoid it. But I mean, everyone's campaign is different, right? Like we're going a certain route through the jungle, and we're gonna go to a certain place via a certain other place. No spoilers. But your own game, you might go a completely different way. You might have a completely different guide. You might go somewhere that we don't go, or you might go somewhere we do go. So it's really a personal choice.
And certainly if you watch some of the D&D streamers who are playing Tomb of Annihilation, I mean, Force Grey got there one way, and Dice Camera Action got there a very different way.
Yep.
With very different events happening along the way. So, and Acquisitions Inc. as well. So.
Yeah, that's D&D.
Yeah. Okay. Nomad84. Can Justin give any hints as to what changes may be coming to help reduce the amount of manual clicking, especially during early and mid-game before reaching our wall?
Oh, yeah. I can say there is something coming. It's the next dev blog after we get the chess stuff out. So keep an eye out for that. I think it'll be really exciting for people and sort of add a new way to play the game. So keep an eye out for that. That is coming. Yes is the answer.
Okay. And let's see, what's next? Cyrus88. Is it possible that people who get the shiny potion get really unlucky and get a shiny for Groma or Krond, or are the event champions not included?
It'll give you a random shiny for any piece of loot that you have. So yes, it could be for Groma or Krond. It also could be for Barrowin or Regis. So, the good comes with the bad.
Okay. And we just got a couple more here. Master Fred. Would there be missions for benched characters like in Crusaders, or something to do for benched characters?
Yeah, I think that'd be really a fun thing to do. I don't think we've got really any solid plans for that yet, but something. We want to do something.
Okay. Pisces RD, or Pisces Road. Will you make Archon viable?
Yes, we will make Archon viable, or else Joe is going to show up on our doorstep and beat the crap out of all of us. So
he'll just backbreaker every person in the office one after another.
So
just line up.
I think Archon's going to get some love when we do our tanking health healing pass. We'll try and make him a more useful Crusader or champion.
Yikes. That's almost as bad as a finale. Garawar, okay. How often do you plan on doing this type of dev blog as opposed to just patch notes when the updates come out?
Yeah, so I really wanted to do this dev blog so that we could sort of get these changes in front of you and get your feedback before we pushed everything out. So it wasn't just a big, huge surprise when we did it and everyone's like, oh, why couldn't I, stock up some fire breath potions before we did this? Or why couldn't I so I could save my chests? So we wanted to do that. So we'll do dev blogs for cases where there's like something pretty major coming. We've got probably at least
milestone updates.
Three more of those sort of milestone updates in the implementation stages right now. So you'll definitely see some more of them. But they're not going to be like we're not going to do one sort of every week to sort of explain like this is a new adventure and it's got these bosses and monsters. But when we do sort of big things, we'll do a dev blog about them.
Yeah. I get the impression that our audience, like many D&D players, are very detail oriented. They just want as much information as they can get. So
you and me both, guys. You and me both.
Archimedes 94. Justin, could you give your thoughts and reasoning for the values on shiny versus rarity? For example, a shiny rare item is worse than a non-shiny epic.
Yep. That is true. Yeah, I mean, we want epic items to be the best. And actually, we did purposefully sort of balance the numbers so that a shiny rare or even a golden rare, if such a thing were obtainable, would be worse than an epic item. But keep in mind that shiny sticks to that slot. So if you get a shiny rare item and then later you get an epic upgrade for that item, it will be a shiny epic item. So yeah, I mean, we really just want epic to be like the epitome of item. Epic is epic. It's in the word, it's in the definition. So yeah, so epic items will always be better than shiny and golden of lower rarities. But as I said, you can upgrade that shiny rare to a shiny epic without having to get another shiny.
Okay, and I think this will be the last one for you.
Sure.
Our Green Paradox. Are you happy with the way early access is going?
Yeah. I think we had, in January, we had like everyone out of the office sick for like 2 or 3 weeks. It was insane. And so that really kind of slowed us down a little bit. We really wanted to get into some of these chest updates and the other ones a little bit faster in the new year. But so far, like, I think the response from you guys has been really good. We really appreciate your feedback. We read an egregious amount of your posts. And you know, we may not always agree with them, but we really appreciate that you guys have taken the time to write them up. And so I think early access is going really well. And I think there's a lot of fun stuff planned for the next little while, and I think you guys are really gonna enjoy where the game's sort of headed.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you for joining the first half of the stream here.
Yeah, my pleasure. I'm going to go figure out what's happening to the servers.
Yeah, it's
looks like they're working
possibly
now.
a good idea. They seem to be going great at the moment.
They've got it.
But it's always, you know, it must be fun sitting here when you're looking at it, like, what's going on? Why?
Oh, wow.
It's just on the other side of that wall right there. But yeah, thank you. Yeah, thanks for doing that. I know everybody really appreciates you taking the time to explain it and answer questions.
My pleasure.
And dive a little deeper into the world of chests and items dropping. And everybody's really looking forward to it coming out.
Great. Okay.
Cool.
Thanks, guys. I'm out.
All right.
Peace.
Thanks, Justin. And that gives me a good moment right here to I'll just swap over to the solo view. So we've had a wonderfully patient guest on the line for the last few minutes, just getting ready to join us. You would know him from Maze Arcana's many shows. And probably it seems like every D&D related con across North America. You know, he has the best timemanship of anybody I've ever seen. So I would like to welcome the Rudy Rutenberg to the stream. So I'm just gonna swap over my view here, and it looks like the thing reset itself. I'm just gonna fix that.
Wah, wah.
Yeah, total fail. Let's see if I can't get this adjusted. You know, it's just one of those things where we're trying to get things working, and you know, it's just, and sometimes you suck at it. We're totally.
You guys get to see all my notes that I have over mine.
All right, I will work on that as we get this rolling here. Apologies for not being able to get to everything, Rudy, because I was like already streaming when you started secting, and I was like, crap, I'm in the room with Justin right now talking, and it's just kind of like not in as much of a position to act on it as I would have liked to have been.
It's okay. From what I understand, I'm your first time, so you know it's usually a little nerve-wracking the first time.
Yeah. It's, and also just, you know, we're still figuring this out with our setup. You know, thank you for recommending Zoom to get that rolling. I just can't see if I can't get this chroma key to show up nicer before I...
Probably just punch in a bit there.
Trying to find that balance where everything starts to disappear and it looks great. I want to zoom in on your tie, so...
Yeah, I mean, you probably just make me bigger there. In general, will be good. Whoop.
There we go. Much better. Much better. Yes. So, actually, can you explain that knot? Because I can't. I do not understand it looking at it from here.
You do not? I did not.
I do not.
Yeah. So this is a modified, would basically be a modified aperture knot. A lot of the aperture knots don't have a fold in them, and I was actually going to put something in there, but I forgot to.
Huh. Okay. Yeah.
It's gonna get, like, actually, let me see. Hold on 1 second.
No worries. Looks like Satine has joined the chat. And I didn't get to acknowledge everybody on their way in either, just because Justin was already here and we were so ready to get rolling with the Q&A around the chess changes. So I just want to take a second. Welcome Lauren. Welcome Ray Cool, Thanatos. Like the million people who are here with us week in and week out. Thanks for joining. Sorry, what were you putting in your tie?
Well, I didn't. I usually have like little. I usually have tie clips, and I usually have like a. I usually have like some sort of. You can actually like use cufflinks to a really good effect in ties, but usually I have something in there. What I grabbed was one of the dice from the con that I was just at down in Orlando. We went and played D&D at Disney and went and did all the little rides there, got a little backstage action. It was a blast.
That sounds fun.
Oh, it was incredible.
Actually, just on that note, because you attend so many cons, it seems like how do you do it, and like what's that schedule like for you?
Well, I'm lucky to have an extra head, and that's Satine Phoenix doing a lot of the legwork with me, and it always helps to have more than one set of eyes on something. Mm-hmm. So she's pretty good about that. We also have Ryan Omega, who works as our project manager. Uh-huh. It helps us juggle the many things. I think we did. He came on towards the end of last year to help out. But basically, he and I had hit 15 conventions, I think.
Wow.
In the last year, which is, I do not ask anybody to do anything like that.
Eric certainly last year when he was traveling 40-something days in the last quarter of last year, I think it was. And so like every time he would get back into the office, he's just so exhausted. It's just kind of, and then probably bringing some of the exotic diseases that we all got sick with in January. Now that I think about it, but anyways,
I heard somebody say my audio is quiet now, so let me pop that for you.
Okay. Looks like you just nudged your camera over. I can see your lights again. Yeah. Niall Sustanet says, with a tie like that, of course he got some backstage action. I think that's actually quieter. Although it's more clear.
Okay.
If that makes sense. Yeah. I don't know how people in chat hear it. But to me it sounds more clear, but a little quieter. So just to get something for you to ponder. I was reading through Xanathar's Lost Notes and overwhelmed by the amount of work it looked like it took to make, with somebody who has a background in print. Can you give us a little insight into what your experience was like putting that thing together?
Yeah, I am boosting the microphone for everybody.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I could hear it.
Okay, so now everybody can tell me I'm too loud.
Yeah.
We had a lot of people working on that. I get by the sense of like, we had a lot of adepts that contributed to it. I think there were 9 of us total on it, but the brunt of it was done with 4 of us.
Okay.
And chat, let us know how that worked for sound. Good. Okay. There was 4 of us that did the majority of the work on that, in the sense of we took all of the submissions from the other adepts, we went and rebalanced it, and we took time to playtest what we could. Some of the things I had for more volume. Okay. Some of the things I had for Xanathar's Lost Notes, I had already kind of had the opportunity to play test over. How about that? That should be much louder.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd already had the chance to play test through some of the games that we ran for Maze Arcana or at different conventions. And I guess kind of like the thing I'm actually pretty decent at is the rules and balance. I can kind of sniff out when something's broken in advance or whatnot. So I was lucky to have a cast of people that were helping me balance those things that all have similar backgrounds in that.
Awesome.
James Hake was my editor, and he did a lot of work on not only doing some balance stuff with me, but also in trying to clean up as many of those typos. And he and I combed through all of the notes that we had gotten on the DMs Guild, and went through and tried to edit it as much as we can. There were still things that slipped through when moving it over into layouts, which is layouts can be incredibly hard.
Yeah, yeah.
So, we got there eventually.
Sometimes you blow up a whole project all at once accidentally. It's great.
Yeah, and we did it within a month. So, like, that's the thing that people don't understand is, like, as guild adepts, we only get a quick, we only get a little bit of lead time on the products. They let us know when they're coming out, and we get some playtest materials on it, but we don't even really get the finalized version. And the whole point of us, of the guild adepts, is to drop same day or right thereafter, kind of like DLC.
Wow,
so
yeah.
Trying to do that while on a con schedule, and while streaming, I think we were running 3 shows at the time, plus doing stuff at Geek and Sundry, doing GM tips with Satine still. Like, I probably took on more than I should have.
You're doing proofreading, like proofing with behind your DM screen, like you're just actually writing notes.
Yeah, I didn't prep that entire, all the games from that week, or that month, I didn't prep. I was just behind the screen editing XLN while everybody else was talking. It was great.
Wow. Lauren just linked Xanathar's Lost Notes in chat. I highly recommend anybody who's even tangentially interested in more subclasses or more content or even just more tables to give it a check. Give it a check because there's tons of stuff in there. Like, it might help you with your homebrew campaigns as well. Just lots of ideas. You can never have enough ideas floating around. So.
Yeah, and one of the things that we tried to do was to make things that kind of we felt like there was a hole for, and we talked to some of the people at WotC to see if there were things that they felt would not be competition necessarily for the things that are already in Xanathar's. So when we did the Lost Notes, we made sure that we were filling holes that weren't going to be already filled. That's the majority of what we got out of the materials they gave us in advance.
Yeah.
And like I said, we had about a month lead time on it. So putting it out over that Christmas break and Thanksgiving and all that was, holidays and cons, and putting out an 89 before pre-gens and anything else, 89 pages of mechanics is a pretty hardy.
It's ambitious, man. I remember right when it came out, like, I think that you got the kind of detailed feedback that Wizards would get for a mistake because people perceived it to be of that quality. Like just opening up the PDF, it's like you've got the art, you've got the pages, the layout looks fantastic. So I think you guys accomplished something pretty awesome.
Did an amazing job with the actual layout stuff, making it all look like a professional Wizards document, even if there are some little mistakes in there. I mean, like, that's the thing, is we're not actual Wizards employees. We don't get paid for anything on that. What we get comes off of not only the feedback that people give us, but also we make the royalties, and that's all we get. So the fact that the people on the DMs Guild are giving us the kind of feedback, like, you guys are essentially giving us playtests for what we can't do on our own. We only have so many games that we can run on our own.
Yeah, cool. Do you think this is something you might do again?
For what?
I don't know. You could do a Mordenkainen's Lost Tome of all the other things, or something else.
Well, what we do is, as adepts, is we get that little bit of a heads up on some of the stuff that's coming out, and then we get to decide what we're gonna make. Now, if for the Tome of Foes, what we do is capitalize on creatures that weren't picked up, or organizations and factions that weren't, or even if we do a whole lot of extra stuff for new classes that we think are available from the Tome of Foes. Things that, oh look, that's an interesting monster. Wouldn't it be really cool if there was a character option for that?
Yeah.
I'd say that would be what we would look into doing. But there's a lot of that's still up in the air because, the adepts haven't gotten that yet.
Okay.
I read some of it from playtest materials, but even that's not even finished. So we don't know how much of a thing is actually gonna be a thing.
Okay, yeah, because I imagine some of the players who got a hold of like Xanathar's Lost Notes would probably have thought that you had a lot more lead time going into the release than you actually ended up having.
Yeah, we didn't. If you guys reading the UA that they put out on the Wizards website, you had as much lead time as we did. Like that's
wow.
We knew what the final things were going to be in the book. We didn't necessarily know all of the final things because some of them were getting cut up until the last minute.
Yeah.
There was only one wizard released in this thing. How many wizards went through UA? There was only a couple of druids. How many druids went through UA? How many came out right after? We right now are sitting on a druid of spores, right?
Yeah. Which is honestly one of my favorite things I think I've seen them do in quite a while. As soon as I read that one, I'm like, this is awesome. That is flavorful.
It's OP is what it is. But
maybe that a little bit too.
If you wanted to know, the one that we used for the seasons was originally a spores or disease type version, and then what I did was I felt like it was too pigeonholed.
Yeah.
And didn't have enough interesting mechanics, so we scrapped the whole thing. And I'm really actually very happy it came out as good as it did because that was one of the later additions and changes. But we scrapped the whole thing for that and went through and redesigned it under the idea of almost a swamp thing.
Oh yeah.
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 So I tried to pull, here's something from the rot, something from the red, the green. I tried to make a little bit of balance there while still giving it a flavor of a season instead of a specific king.
Cool. Well done.
What's your favorite, by the way?
Oh, out of the Lost Notes?
Yeah.
I haven't had a chance to play them since I picked it up because I only picked it up a few weeks ago and I've just been reading it. I think the first one I was looking at trying out was the Red Reaver.
Oh, that's so fun.
Yeah.
Especially as it gets to higher levels.
Yeah, because I am not typically somebody who enjoys playing that type of melee class, but I was reading it, I'm like, that looks fun. And then I sent it to one of my friends who usually DMs a lot of our games, and he's like, he's like, I don't know how strong that is. I'm like, I don't know how strong it is either, but can we try it? So.
I'll tell you, it's actually not like as OP as you would think it would be. The biggest issue that we had, you're sacrificing your ability for long term based on surviving in the moment. So if your DM is somebody who caters to a lot of short rests that fighters can benefit from, that warlocks benefit from, if that's what kind of party and game he's running, then yeah, I could see how if you're ignoring hit dice as a mechanic in the game, sure. But that's all the things are balanced around how hit dice work. So with that specific class, you're burning through your hit dice to power your features. You don't just get them constantly. Yeah.
It was a nice creative use of that mechanic and using your hit dice I thought it was really interesting. So I was like, I could do that.
One, both of the monks have a hit dice mechanic to them, where one is an empathy kind of thing, where they're just like they can channel your wounds from you and then heal themselves with their hit dice in action.
Yeah,
stuff like that. Yeah,
it was neat. I like it, and like I was mentioning earlier, anything that gives more ideas is
so welcome and appreciated. So it was very cool.
But to answer your idea of, or your question about like, are we going to be doing any more mechanics for things soon? Yeah, there's
Sweet.
stuff. I would look in the May timeframe.
Okay.
For things that we can't announce yet.
Cool. Well, I look forward to reading more. So when we were briefly chatting yesterday, you started getting very excited talking about this new project, Mythmakers Society. I am eager to hear more. I don't know how much of our audience already knows about it. But what can Maze Arcana fans expect from this latest project?
I'm pulling up your email to double check things. Well, first, I think before I jump onto that, like I would like to mention some of the other things that we've had on D&D specifically. We had the long-running thing for Fury's Reach, which was Satine and I double dungeon mastering back and forth.
Yep.
That was one of the that one goes along the campaigns that you guys were talking about for Tomb of Annihilation, only ours runs alongside it and kind of deals with some of the peripheral things that DMs could do instead of going directly after that, but still having the death curse looming and seeing what happens. And when our players died in that, they were off the show. So it wasn't so meat grinder in the way that we were trying to kill them, but if something happened, like, it became a plot point. We made sure that it was a thing. So that gave birth to Fury's Fate, which was the aftermath of the people that survived that I DM'd, and then Satine opened up Sirens of the Realm.
Yes.
Which is with Sirens of the Realms, which is incredible. It's a bunch of girls getting down, singing as an all-girl bard band. You get to go through their meeting process and moving through all of these things, and I play I play an all-boy bard band called Magic Missile in that, and I play all 4 of the characters.
When Eric was visiting, he was on one Sirens of the Realm episode too. Was it end of last year?
That's why I brought it up.
Yeah. It was. I was so honestly blown away, just even by the idea of it. Never mind somebody actually having the gumption to actually do a D&D show where you sing in it at all. It's kind of one of those things where maybe you could actually speak to the level of what it takes to, as opposed to DMing for your players, DMing for an audience. Like, what's that difference like?
The difference is really about the pacing. In D&D, like, it is very important usually at a table to keep pacing to make sure you're keeping your players engaged, but you can kind of like modify that based on how engaged they are individually. Like, they can be really engaged with each other, and then you as a DM can kind of sit back and let them wander. But in DMing on stream, you kind of need to hit story points. So you have to be able to keep the audience engaged if what is going on between the players may not be something that is engaging to the grand scheme of things. 2 players might be really engaged while the other 2 get up and go to the bathroom. That's not really what we want. We don't have the luxury of, oh, you can go up and get snacks right now. We want everybody to stay engaged, and that means that we need to keep both the players and the audience engaged. So the pace is really what's important there.
Yeah. It's interesting to watch too, because I think of like what my own experience is as a player, and then watching live performances, like when we were watching you at TwitchCon at the end of last year, and it's like it's just such a different experience. And it's like I'm still relatively new to the idea of watching people play D&D because it's not a context that I've ever had, Critical Role was too far along for me to join in when they were getting going, and so like the last year and a bit with all the content that Wizards and Maze Arcana have been putting out, it's been kind of an eye-opener because it was just like it's just this totally new door and way of digesting and experiencing D&D that's new, still relatively new for everybody.
Yeah, well, I think the hope for it is that you get the opportunity to kind of understand what it's about if you're somebody who's never played it before. You get the idea of what you can sit down and hang out and what to expect from people that are going to be sitting there, strangers really, that are going to be sitting there next to you at a convention, or when you try to get a hold of people on the D&D Beyond side, like, you get the opportunity to kind of sit down and hang out and what to expect from people that are going to be sitting there, strangers really, that are going to be sitting there next to you at a convention, or when you try to get a hold of people on the D&D Beyond side, like, you get the opportunity to kind of sit down and hang out and what to expect from people that are going to be sitting there next to you at a convention, or when you try to get a hold of people on the D&D Beyond side, like, you get the opportunity to kind of sit down and hang out and what to expect from people that are going to be sitting there next to you at a convention, or when you try to get a hold of people on the D&D Beyond side, like, you get the opportunity to kind of sit down and hang out and what to expect from people that are going to be sitting there next to you at a convention, or when you try to get a hold of people on the D&D Beyond side, like, you get the opportunity to kind of sit down and hang out and what to expect from people that are going to be sitting there next to you at a convention, or when you try to get a hold of people on the you try to get a hold of people at a game store or something like that, you know what you're sitting down for a little bit better because you've seen other people do it.
Mm-hmm.
So the one thing I think that's really important for us is that we don't, like, just because we pay attention to pacing and we pay attention to the idea of streaming, and really the tech is probably the hardest thing to deal with when you're doing that, but we make it very important that we are not playing for them, they're joining our game.
Mm-hmm.
So we're sitting here saying, when I'm describing things, I'm not describing it necessarily so they get it. I'm describing it so that it inspires the players, so they understand what it is. Because if they do, then the audience will.
Yeah, yeah, and it's I don't know, it's very cool. You somebody mentioned that you was it in this one? It's just like you feel like you're there with your friends playing in a way that you don't, like, even though you're passively watching people play, it feels like you're sitting down with your friends every time you watch it, which is really cool.
And that was actually something really big. We were talking about tech there a second ago. That was something that was really important to us, was to make the screen actually look like a wide across table, something that when you sit down, you're scanning us just like you would scan people at a table you sat down to play with, which I think is a little different than when you're watching maybe Critical Role or one of the other ones that have the players sitting on top of each other. We really liked the idea of the immersion being an encompassing thing.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were somebody who liked to watch Twitch in VR goggles, hey, look at that, you actually can. And you can just zoom back and forth looking at us to see, like you're actually sitting there at the table.
You mentioned the technology a couple times there. Can you give us an idea of what that technical journey is like in order to go from somebody who has never streamed before to where you are now with Maze Arcana?
Ooh, well, again, I'm lucky to have Satine because she is very specific, like I am, on the things that we want to see out of the stream and the quality we want to stream at. So having her as a constant person to say, hey, what do you think about this? Or hey, how does this look to you? Or is that person a little bigger than this person? And we really take a lot of effort into making those nice little nuances. Even though we don't really have a whole lot of time
Mm-hmm.
on our hands, we like the idea of making the nuances of the game and the stream important. But going from the beginning, we started on Logitechs, and we burned Satine's computer. You can watch in the first episode, Satine's computer catches fire.
Really?
Yeah,
I didn't catch that.
Too many. We had 8 cameras going, I think, which is a little aggressive.
Okay, I'm using 2 Logitechs right now on one computer, and I'm like, okay, mental note, do not get 6 more cameras.
Well, it depends on the bus, right? So we were stacking the things, the extra hubs, and computers need to have them separated on different buses. So if you don't do that, yeah, you can overheat it. If you overheat it, it'll catch fire, and that's an electrical fire. So
the best kind of fire, yeah.
Yeah, Tesla is great at those.
So do you still keep a fire extinguisher handy near your setup, or is it something that's a relic of the past at this point?
Of course we practice safety. We're actually very proud of the way that we handle our insurance, and that the people that come on our stream are protected. We actually keep everybody union so that they can be
right
protected.
on.
They don't have to worry about SAC coming after them, or for us, mine's writers. I'm in the Writers Guild, so I make sure that what I'm doing for this is covered. I'm not going to get in trouble for streaming, randomly. Even though this is still the Wild West, you don't need it. Nobody needs it yet.
Yeah.
But we're already, it's a little different when you're at home streaming your own game or something like that versus you're somebody who already works in the industry like I do.
Yeah.
It's important for me not to lose the benefits that I get for being in the union because I'm streaming online. So we actually try and afford that to everybody that comes on our stream, because we're in Hollywood and a lot of people do have that background before they start streaming.
Yeah, that's actually gives me an interesting avenue for a follow-up in that
this does seem like a pretty new thing. So how does that work with writers guilds and actors guilds, and like, is there precedent for streaming content, or is it a trail that you're blazing right now?
Well, there's precedence in the form of new media, right? So we're lucky that this is on the internet in a way, and new media was something that SAG-AFTRA, the Writers Guild, and Producers Guild, and even the DGA really have kind of made into a modified low budget scenario, because they know that a lot of the budgets for these are either deep into the negatives, or there's something along the lines of, oh, we've got $200 to make this work, or we had enough money to purchase Logitech, so we're just going to do this thing. They don't want to stop or stifle somebody's creativity. They don't want there to be a barrier to entry. So really, it doesn't take anything except for sitting down to do the paperwork. You can even pay. You can even just do deferred. Like, if all your friends are around, but you want them to be, protected, or you want to help them get into the union with the things, you can do deferred, or you can even do a low amount of money. And you just set it up to where, like, oh, once this reaches X amount of dollars that it's earned on YouTube, or it's covered the production budget, then this is how the royalty system will work. Like, you'll get a percentage of this show or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
It's about being respectful of your fellow union members, and really for us, it's about being respectful for the people that are giving us their time. And we do pay people. So, but we also think that, like, hey, you need a certain amount of money to get your health care. You need a certain amount of money to get your dental or insurance for the unions. And if we can help with that, we're gonna. So we want everybody that comes to spend time with us and be a part of our family to really feel like they're family, and not have to look over their shoulder to see if they're gonna get kicked out of a union for live stream.
Yeah, no doubt. Okay, that's awesome. On the notion of Hollywood, this is something that Eric was mentioning to me, was this idea that everybody in Hollywood plays D&D. Is that actually true, or is that just one of those rumors that circulates around the cons?
There's a lot of us. It's a lot of people. Like, I got my start playing D&D with the producers of X-Men and Transformers, and some writers and editors and stuff like that. So most of what I started with were those people in Hollywood. And then I got the itch, and I started reaching out into local game stores. And Satine and I actually now both have meetup groups for LA. I have one for the Valley up north, and she has one for Hollywood, which is actually funny because we live in each other's districts. Like, so we were a part of each other's meetup groups before we knew each other.
Huh. Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of funny like that.
Yeah.
There's like, I think 2,000 people in each group or something like that at this point. There's a lot of people in it. Might be more, who knows, but
that's impressive. So you guys were a part of each other's groups before you met. How did that happen?
So at the Storm King's Thunder launch down there at Meltdown, we both kind of sat down at this table with Chris Lindsay, and we had a bunch of other people. We knew Jay Africa, who was an Adventures League guy, and we were playing this game, and we noticed that the two of us were actually never met before, but we just jumped into role playing. And you get a lot of people that are mechanics heavy sitting at a table, and I am, but I also use the mechanics to role play. So I kind of like role play within that boundary. And my first experience with her was me being a little halfling and her being like a drow rogue or something, and letting her kind of like stand on my head to climb up to a pedestal there in one of the first things, and I'm just kind of like, like across the table, and she's like, I'm almost there, just give me a second. And then that's when Chris had her roll to see if she got up there, and she rolled kind of middle ground, so she got up there, but she ended up like putting her foot in my face and knocking me over and stuff like that. We had a lot of fun. It was great.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's
awesome.
how we met, and we kind of like, from there, she was like, I like the way you play, and I was like, yeah, you play great too. And she's like, well, maybe like I kind of want to do this live streaming thing, and some of the wizards were there and overheard us talking about it, and they're like, yeah, we're interested in this thing too. Like, what do you think? And that was kind of like a little bit of the genesis of what was going on there. Obviously, Critical Role had been on for a little bit. Matt was there hanging out too. and actually Force Grey was launching right at that time.
The first season?
Yeah, the first season.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Wow. It's interesting to think that this is
nonsense.
as young as it is, because with how quickly it has gained momentum and how quickly people are, gaining followers and like their audience is growing for this. It's interesting to me that it's only a couple of years old. It's like it seems like it should have. I mean, D&D, I guess I can't even remember the first time I played. It would have been decades ago, but it's weird to think that this virtual community of it is still relatively new.
Mm-hmm. We've been fortunate so far. What else you got? I feel like you had a bunch of questions.
You're
Mythmakers.
Yes, Mythmakers Society. In fact, I don't know if you noticed, but our weekly stream code is MA Mythmaker Chest.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. I was sitting there going like, Mammy. What's Mammy?
Yeah.
So Mythmakers Society, for anybody that's an Eberron fan, we're going to be hopping back into Eberron really soon, and we're pretty stoked about it. We've been working with Keith Baker since the beginning to make sure that our Eberron content was on point, and I did a lot of the design for the Warforged, for like basically tuning everything up to 5th edition.
Yeah.
So Mythmakers Society is a collection of our friends that we've had the good fortune to spend time with and play some tabletop with. And when we kicked this one up, we were like, who would be great for us? Like, who do we want to see multiple times a week? And really, like, for us, when we get to do these, when we do work, these things, it's so that we can play with our friends,
Yeah,
so,
no doubt.
Yeah, because we don't get time with our friends otherwise. So we spend time going like, okay, who can we get to stream? Because who do we want to hang out with? And so we finally grabbed all of our people and said, hey, so let's do, let's get this person and this person and this person and really get them all in the same game together and play a couple. And we've been meeting up for a few Sundays now, setting everything up, playing and I can even go into a little bit of the details about like what our session zeros were like for anybody that's interested in kind of the DMing aspect of a noir campaign, which in my opinion is one of the hardest. Dylan already has his SAG card. He's been on. I saw that question just pop up. Dylan's had it. Oh, this Dylan.
Yeah, I know.
This is an Amaze Arcana.
I am not an actor.
Dylan will have to get over here to LA. I thought they were talking about Dylan.
Sprouse?
Yeah, Sprouse.
Yeah,
like,
I'm pretty sure he's had a card since he was like 1 or 2. Like,
yeah.
They've been in the spotlight a long time.
So, like if you want to know how to run a noir campaign, which I think is probably one of the most complex and hard ways to play, then we can talk a little bit more about that. But I'm super excited to be back in Eberron, playing with a lot of the things that we love, the prophecies, Warforged, all of those things, and really kind of bearing down with Keith to get a lot of these things set up, for the future of this thing. And Mythmakers Society really capitalizes on. I won't spoil who the characters are because I feel like that's a really awesome reveal for the stream. But we've had so many meetings set up that doing our session zeros, like people were they weren't allowed to come with a character already created. They weren't allowed to come with a class or a race already. They had to come in and go, okay, so this is my vice, or this is a list of vices that I think are interesting. This is a list of flaws I think are interesting. And the group together sat around and said, oh yeah, I can see how that would work. Oh, okay, interesting, blah, blah, blah. And so they kind of, noir basically usually has that one guy and a femme fatale, and they have very defined roles.
Yeah.
But when you're doing it for a party, the entire party kind of has to be that guy. So you need them to have unique individual personalities. And since noir requires, just like regular D&D, but almost to a greater degree, requires that player buy-in, you need to have everybody on the same page with like, oh, you're that guy, I'll be this guy. Like, you're that aspect of the personality, I'll be this one. And what's my vice? I got this issue, et cetera, et cetera.
Cool. So, like, what's getting you hype and excited about Mythmaker Society?
Ooh, Probably the fact that everybody's going to start at level 0. I'm pretty excited about that idea that you can get caught in the alleyway and punched to unconsciousness.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it really gives people, it really makes you care so much more about what your choices are. You think through what you're going to say before you say, I launch across the bar and punch him in the face. I'm like, great, roll initiative. Let's do the thing.
Yeah. Oh. Oh no. Something appears.
The idea
Oh, here we
behind
go.
the new... A lot of drawn out situations going on, and because it's Sharn, there will be a lot of factions around that are paying attention to every move that they make. So you'll get a whole lot of information about, you know, the mysteries that are surrounding them. And a lot of our rewards aren't going to be in shiny magic items or in a bunch of gold. A lot of that stuff is going to come from intrinsic rewards of the characters' revelations, growths, them learning about each other, but also in clues. Because the biggest thing about a noir thing is it's a mystery with a bunch of other mysteries around it, and which one of the characters going to pick up on?
Sweet. That's exciting. I'm really looking forward to being able to dive into it. There's a brief window there where it looks like the bitrate spiked and we lost some footage. So I'm not really sure how much people missed. But it seems to be fine now. Gotta love the internet. And having a conversation where one person's in California and the other person's in British Columbia, and you know, we're all meeting somewhere in the middle while a video game's playing in the background on a digital television channel, more or less.
Technology's crazy, man. I remember people getting so upset that things don't happen like instantly, and it's like, you realize that just went to space and back, right?
yeah, like when your cell phone connection isn't working right, it's like it's doing a thing. Like, you know, it wasn't that long ago when if you wanted to talk to somebody, you had to journey to their place and chat with them, or pick up your landline and dial and hope that somebody picks up or what have you. So
I remember when the idea of getting a second phone line was like a big deal. You're just like, what? I can get a second phone line? How much does that cost?
Yeah. Oh man, that's funny. Okay. I think still on the topic of Mythmaker, what can you tell us about your process for putting a project of this scale together? Especially talking about how a noir is such a challenge. Like, what kind of preparation does it take to set that up?
You know, like, one of the things that happened in Fury's Fate, for anybody that's watching, you'll understand this, but there's a big situation that happens, and this probably happens in almost every game, that completely derails it. Somebody gets like an interesting idea in the moment and doesn't necessarily care or doesn't think about the ramifications of what's going to happen or what it's going to do to the group, and it kind of throws the game off. Well, in a home game, that's fine. One of the things you have to think about when you're streaming is, oh crap, now I just have to figure out how I'm going to rework the entire campaign, because they completely killed an entire storyline in the span of 15 minutes in like episode 3. So we spent a lot of time going, okay, how are we going to redo this? And another thing that you may not know is that a lot of the content that Satine and I have made for Faerun is all interlocked. So things that her Sirens do still affects the things that happened on Fury's Fate, and back and forth, and you get a lot of those aha moments watching one and then going to the other one.
Yeah.
The thing that we'll have for the Eberron game is I'll be prepping a lot of concurrent storylines that will be evolving as the players play, regardless of whether or not they even know they're there. And then, and I think maybe at some point we'll actually release those other storylines on the side, and you'll be able to see like how the players hit that one or didn't hit that one or what have you, you know?
Oh, yeah. No, it does.
And that way DMs can pick that up, run the same campaign, but start them on a different track, and then interweave with the characters at some point in the game, and still end up like on, let's say, storyline 7, then out of 10, you know, when starting on storyline 1.
Huh.
It's that whole heist idea that, you know, there's all of these other factions and elements in the world, and what if you're not the one that gets to the prize first? What if the Maltese Falcon falls into the wrong hands? Are you going to find the clues to recover it? So that's an important thing that I think we're really prepping for in the process of it. Beyond that, because we got together with all the characters in advance, we really want to make sure that we put in the some iconography for them, right? So they all already have a specific tone that is going to be different than all the others, and they don't have to develop that in the game on stream as much because we've done some playing beforehand. And not only do we play with this group like D&D, but we play other games together so that we know each other, you know? Like, it's one thing to be friends with people, it's one thing to play a game together, but you don't really know somebody unless they're a gaming group with you. They're really your friends. You played a mirage of different games, you know, or a myriad rather, of different games where you're, you know, one game you're playing something with super defined rules. You get to see who's the competitive people. You play one with super loose rules. You play one that is a board game. You play a card game like Cards Against Humanity or something like that. So you really get to know and can almost predict those people's intricacies on their own. Like, that's one of the things that makes Critical Role so great is, you know, they've all been friends for so long and they're so open with each other. They're fearless on that because they're safe. They know they're safe. It doesn't matter who's watching because they make each other safe. And that's what we all do with our own friends. So making sure that we not only grab people who understood D&D and understood that and were our friends and that we played with for a while, but grabbing the people that would be able to do that on stream and not be self-conscious about other people watching, because that ruins it, in my opinion.
Is that a hard thing to curate with the playgroup?
Well, you know, everything, like, you get a playgroup, you're doing all that stuff, and your home games can be fine. And the moment the camera comes on, you get that thing that actors do when they're new and they don't know what's going on, or where they're like, "Hi, Twitch, how are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah, you're great. You know, da, da, da. Oh, I see somebody wrote a thing." And you're like, "We're trying to play a game here, dude. What are you on your phone for? Why are you answering questions in chat while she's talking about her mother dying? Like, what's going on with you?"
Yeah.
And so that happens.
Yeah.
You just get people that get a little too anxious and they don't want to be there for the game and for each other. They're there for Twitch, and we don't want that.
Yeah.
We're here for the community, but the community means the people to your left and right as well. Most importantly, actually, right out of the gate here. We love going to cons. Satine and I come and sit down at random tables and play alongside people or run games with people, but when it comes down to it, that table, whichever one we're at, be it a con or our own, that's the most important moment in our lives right there. And so talking to people that are way out in cyberspace is far less important than making sure that the people that are around us are having a good time. Because if we're catering to one or two people on the internet where there's millions of people, we're neglecting the people around us, and that it's palpable when you watch that. It's much better to be inclusive of the people that are right there, because if everybody that you're watching is having fun, you're gonna have so much more fun watching it.
And as a viewer, it's very easy to sense when people are disconnected on screen.
Phoning it in, mad at each other, all of that stuff. We've even had things where, like, Sig and I had a character conflict in One Grung Above, where I play a Grung and he plays this albino dwarf.
Miyagi, I think is his name.
Yeah, he's Miyagi and I'm Billy. And we had this thing where he burned a monkey paw that I had given to, it was a Sioux monster. I had one of them and I had given the other one to a very famous ranger that you have in your game. And and he was like, "Oh, this is wonderful. I'll keep this forever. Thank you," you know, kind of thing. So for me, that was my connection to that very iconic guy, and that was who my little frog looked up to. He burned it. And Lauren, who's in chat, can tell you how much that meant to Leaf, and Miyagi can tell you just how much Leaf held that against him, and they had like this thing back and forth, but people in chat thought we hated each other. They thought we were really mad at each other. After the game was over, we would be like, dude, that was such a good thing. Like, that was so awesome. The way you played that was so great.
Yeah. Is it ever difficult to separate the character from the performance in yourself like that?
Not for me. Some people probably do get have a little problem separating those things. But that's where having that good communication in not only your session zero, but checking in with each other and making sure the other person feels safe. Like, that's one of the biggest cornerstones of improv and theater and everything like that. So maybe there's a reason why, our group and Critical Role feels so safe with each other, is because we came from those backgrounds, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, Matt grew up in Florida, not too far from me. We were both into theater. We both did a lot of improv. We both did all of these things that ultimately ended up preparing us more to trust the people around us, and then to also be constantly checking in with them. When I'm DMing, normally when you DM, you should be scanning the table, checking in with people, seeing how they're reacting to things, seeing how they're feeling. It's even more so on a stream, because not being involved, like not reading them, can create a situation where not only is it not immersive, it's distracting, because they're pouting or they're gonna table flip on you. You didn't even pay attention to that and could have saved it, because really, as the GM, your job is not only to be the person running the game, but also to be making sure that your friends feel safe being there.
Yeah.
And it's tough. It's not always something, we don't always succeed in those things, but we have to try as hard as we can, because we're all friends, and that's what's most important out of it. A game is something we do to get together, and it's fun, but we're friends, and we want to stay friends. We want to be able to do these things forever.
Exactly.
I said a lot of words.
No, but that's why people still play D&D, and I'm happy and thankful that there are shows you can watch, because my fiance had no interest in D&D. I got her to watch some Force Grey, and now we watch Critical Role, and now she plays with one of my friends' DM groups and loves it, and it was
amazing.
A gateway. It was perfect. So
I ran a game for my mom and my dad and my sibling and one of my best friends when I went home, and this is coming from the South, where the community I was in was not necessarily the most open-minded, and D&D was the devil. And we had this situation where, I kind of had to make a deal with my mom. Like, yes, I'll sit down and watch this documentary about Christmas with you if you sit down and give me 45 minutes of D&D. 45 minutes, turned into 5 or 6 hours. We played from basically 5 p.m. until 2 a.m. Well, actually, I guess that's a lot longer. And at the end of it, when I said and that's when we're going to stop for tonight, my mom was like, what? No, come on, we got to keep going. And I'm like, it's 2 a.m. I've been running a game for you for 8 hours. It's a full work day for me doing that. I would love to run another game tomorrow. Just give me time to think, because I don't know where you guys are going next. I can keep making it up. It's just going to get loopier and loopier.
Yeah. Actually, on that note, just as a DM and just preparation, what would be your advice, your best practices for people who are starting as players or as DMs?
Be as clear with your group, regardless of whether you're a player or a DM. Be as clear with your group as possible about what the expectations for the game are. You can be the best role player in the world, you can be the worst, but if you're not going to have a good time if there are people playing different games. I've sat down at a table before where there were 3 different games going on. The game the DM wanted to run, the game half the players wanted to do, and the game the other half the players wanted to do. And the whole game was like this.
Ugh.
And I'm sitting down there in the center of it. I just joined this group, and I'm sitting here watching this, and I go, man, I really just want to ask if we can stop powwow. And then checking my watch and being like, nope. I'll just wait. I'll just suffer through this one. But you don't want people suffering through a game. That defeats the purpose, right? So for me, it's about making sure everybody sits down. You have your really solid beginning of a, like, just your really solid, this is what the game's going to be, this is how I'm going to run it, it's not this, it's not that, it's, you know, high action or high fantasy or very strategic or very story. And, you know, you don't, as a DM, need to sit down and dictate these things. You need to sit down and say, what kind of game do we want to play? This is what I would like to run. What would you guys like? Sometimes there's a compromise. Sometimes, if it's a noir game, that's really tough to allow this grand, like, swinging on chandeliers and all that. You really have to be, like, things have to matter. The consequences of things have to be very, very specific. So if you do something that is going to attract a lot of attention to you, it should attract a lot of attention. And you should not expect for that attention to always be good attention. So knowing that going into it, players are going to want to be like, oh, I would not do this in front of everybody. I'm going to try and be sly and go around the side. Or, you know, I'm going to wait in the shadows a little longer. Or I'm going to be a lot more diplomatic about this situation instead of just punching him in the nose. That kind of stuff is far more enticing to people when they know it's coming, as opposed to feeling punished when they're like, I didn't know that was going to bite me in the ass. I wouldn't have done it, right? And then beyond that, you can't just do it the one time and let it go. You really need to check in with your players. I do post games immediately after games. I'm like, hey, how is this? How is that? I noticed, like, I sensed you tense up over here. Is that okay? What's going on? And something that we've implemented too is that, like, we have like a card system where if somebody's pushing a boundary, you know, if it's getting dark and gritty and it's going too dark for somebody, there's a way to signal everybody without being blatant, right? And and that's also another thing that makes people feel more safe. Even just having that little thing there makes them feel like, okay, I can be okay with letting that happen, or with, you know, moving this or doing whatever. I can try saying this thing and whatnot. And I think that checking in with your players, it doesn't have to be every game, but at least every little arc, right? At least every 3 to 6 to 10 episodes or 10 sessions, you should check in. Is everybody doing okay? Great. That kind of a thing is what's going to make everybody feel better. And everybody's going to have more fun, and you're going to be able to run a better game.
Yes, all those things. And then I guess on a similar note, what would be your advice to somebody who wants to start D&D streaming?
Don't rush it. Like, don't fear it, but don't rush it. Make sure that you are just as communicative about your ambitions as streaming with people, because the last thing you want to do, right? If you want to lose a friend, lend them money, borrow money from them, you know, tell them that their politics or their religion is wrong. Like, those are the things that basically lose you your friendships, right? Mm-hmm. If you're just upfront with people in advance, and, you know, you're in it together and you're not being selfish and you're not recruiting selfish people, and we're all selfish to a degree, right? But if you're doing a thing where people are there to play the game with you and like the idea of streaming, and you're all taking the appropriate measures to make sure that you all are staying safe, you're all going to have a much better time. And then, you know, you can help each other with figuring out tech. You can help each other with producing the show, and with finding music that you can use, or with like DMing and running the show is really, really hard. That's why, like, having Satine when I'm DMing, having Satine be my producer, mm-hmm. and knowing how to run the equipment and generating art, or you know, keeping an idea of a thing, or like, oh, this happened in this game, you might want to, like, check in with that character or that player or something like that. And I do the exact same thing for her. Like, that's really important. And you can do that while you're sitting at the table with them. Just, it's really tough to do it while you're DMing. If you notice, like, Critical Role has a staff. There's a lot of people outside the game, and they still all have little jobs in Critical Role with what they do, right?
Yeah.
You ever notice that the same person does the announcements? Like, these are important things to do if you're streaming. You got to think about all of these things. So I can touch on being safe with that one question that just popped up there.
Oh, yeah. Marin 0616.
Yeah. So the being safe means making sure that everyone feels as though they are taken care of and considerate, or that people are being considerate of their feelings. And ultimately that leads to a better game and a safer environment for people to play, right? Because we play games to have fun with each other. Sometimes it helps me with PTSD. I was in the war. I went to fight overseas, and I saw a lot of things. And this game, role-playing in general, has helped me deal with a lot of things that I would not have been able to deal with on my own. And I've had those people surrounding me. I hope I don't get too emotional during this, but I've had those people surrounding me that are checking in with me and make me feel safe to share that part of my soul with them, right? I can never share the experiences that I went through over there with anybody, nor would I want to, per se. I don't want you to have that burden. It's why I took it. But I should feel safe in exploring some of those emotions, even if I don't have to explain every moment of it to somebody, right? And other people have had that same situation with their family. You know, they may come from a broken home. They may have been mistreated at some point because of their skin color or their religion or anything like that. And people should feel safe, because we are the only skin color at the table is, well, there isn't one, right? We're just inclusive. It's the community. Mm-hmm. That's the whole point. Like, I kind of feel like there's a difference in diversity and inclusivity. And for me, the inclusivity is it. Because that's everything. That encompasses everybody. We shouldn't be telling people they can't do a thing. The whole point of D&D is for us to be together, you know? And if you're telling people they can't do a thing, you're not doing that. You're actually being a hypocrite by saying, well, we're, preaching for diversity. It's like, it's not. You're not. Inclusivity is how you keep everybody together. And that is going to make people feel safe. That's the same thing right there as checking in with people, making sure that they're together and that they're safe. That's the whole human race by itself is going to be better if we're doing that,
Well said. Art Monkey in chat. That's one of our artists, Kat, who was on last week drawing portraits.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Your art, I love the art for your game. It's so fun. It just has that little ripple there.
Yeah. I have nothing left.
Well, let's open it up to other people. I don't mind. I know we have 3 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
You have to jump off, but I'll do a couple of questions from people if they've got
Yeah, if somebody has a question for the Rudy Rutenberg, type it up. And while we're waiting for a question, I'd like to once again thank Wizards of the Coast and the Dungeons and Dragons team for allowing us the use of the D&D Twitch. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here. Thanks to Justin for taking time out of a pretty busy schedule to join us for a pretty ambitious chat about chess for the first half of the stream, and thanks to Rudy for joining us.
Thank you.
What do we have for questions?
Thank you, Candy. I appreciate that. I know there were some that were further up as well. And I agree, you should definitely game with women. I think that every DM should play under different people, just so you can see what it's like to understand kind of a little bit different ways to go through a game. Like how many different, like me playing under Satine is a completely different experience than I got in Adventures League. Me playing under Kyle last night, who is playing an Eberron campaign as a precursor to Mythmakers. That stuff, getting to play with other people and not just running all the time, is so important for your development as a person.
Well said.
Somebody asked up earlier about Xanathars. We had all the raffle things pop in.
Yeah, raffle tends to blow out the chat pretty quickly. You lose stuff.
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions about writing for Adventures League, about publishing things, about Maze Arcana?
We got 10 seconds. What do you got? Here we go. Xanthox. What was your favorite thing to work on for Xanathar's Lost Notes?
Ooh, I think I had a lot of fun. Like, we got really stressed towards the end there, and you can, if you're looking at some of the magic items that are in there, you can see some of the creativity that happens when you're super stressed at the end. Like, I came up with the Chaos Armor and the Chaos Weapons, like, the day before we had to go into Final X.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Nicely done.
So I made that chart, like, all, like, super quickly. My favorite thing specifically about working on Xanathar's Lost Notes was getting to work with all of the really talented people and getting to see how they design things, and then how we could go back and have conversations about, well, why did you design it this way? Why did you do that? Because when I design a thing, I have a specific, like, for instance, the Fey Sorcerer, right? There's not a Druid-esque sorcerer bloodline out there yet. So for us, it was really important, and that I made that one with James Introcaso. Really important for us to do that. Doing the Rune Knight, the Rune Guard fighter with Rich was really great because we created a new system for a new magic system, basically, for runes. Getting to do things like that and working on the hit dice archetypes. Like, I really just love design, so I could design stuff all day long. I would do one on stream if we had more time. Somebody could, like, suggest one and I'd do it.
That would be a great stream.
Yeah.
I think a lot of players would be very keen to watch something like that.
We'll see about doing that sometime.
Yeah, well, I don't want to get in trouble going outside my broadcast block. So, yes, thank you so much for joining us and for sharing that bit of yourself and your experience with us. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. Thank you for making me your first. I appreciate that. That'll hold a special place in my heart.
No worries, it's our honor.
To anybody that is hanging out here, they pretty much give us a gold chest code for almost every stream. So the more stuff you come see, the more that you can get some gold chests. And if you come over and you sub on the thing, you know, we may have, I guess we've kind of been talking about some stuff, other things that we can do with Idle Champions. I don't want to give anything away because I'm not the one in charge of that stuff, but hopefully there will be some really cool things that we have with Idle Champions coming soon.
Hopefully. All right. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a fantastic Thursday and enjoy Critical Role. I think it's Thursday, right? So Critical Role night.
It is Thursday.
Yeah, the Thursday. Anyways,
happy Thursday.
Have a happy Thursday.
Are we off? Okay, we are clear.